What's up everyone? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to actually install this Lowrance GPS unit. You might be wondering what I mean by actually, and I say that because the installation manual that comes in the box assumes that you have a Marine Mechanic Institute certification, and all of the YouTube videos I watched simply said, unplug the old unit, plug the new one in, and you're good to go. Well, today I'm going to go over the trials and tribulations that I faced so that when you go to install your unit, you actually know what to do. I'm installing this unit on my Hughes Redfisher 18. I went with the Lowrance HDS Live 9. I'm going to walk you through what my brain logically went through when going to try and install this unit. And the first thing that my brain went to was, I want to make sure that I actually can power up the unit. I wanted to see if the unit actually worked, so therefore I wanted to go and plug it in. Well, what comes in the box for the power cable is the cable that you will plug into the actual unit itself, which is pretty easy enough. However, the other end is actually just bare wires that look pretty similar to this. So once I saw those bare wires, well, my brain was thinking, you can't just attach those directly to your battery. So I was thinking, okay, well, the installation manual says just attach these particular leads to the battery. And you can't just do that with these wires. They have to have a ring terminal on them. Well, I go to look at my boat and realize most of my accessories are actually all tied into a fuse box and a negative cable bus bar. Well, the installation manual doesn't really tell you which method is best, to use the fuse box itself or to tie directly into the battery. After doing a little bit of research online, I realized it is best to wire directly to the battery in order to avoid as much interference as possible. So that is what I opted to do. Now, the other confusing thing is the power cable came with all of these different wires, right? And to power up the unit, you really only need to use two of the cables, which is the positive side and the negative side. However, it was just bare wire. I had to do some rigging myself. The other thing is on those same wires comes this little yellow wire. Well, turns out you don't really need to use that yellow wire if you're just wanting to use the GPS unit. That is for different communication that I'm not planning to use. So what I had to end up doing was on the negative cable, you have to crimp on a ring terminal to the negative battery case. Simple enough, right? While on the positive cable is you have to use this inline fuse that is provided, thankfully. So what you have to do is the bare battery cable, which comes off from right here, has to be soldered or crimped to the inline fuse. And what I simply did was I had a butt connector crimped here and then put some heat shrink over it that attached directly to the inline fuse. And then on the end of the inline fuse, we did a similar connection to the negative lead, which was just a ring terminal crimped on and some heat shrink. Now, they don't tell you in the manual that you have to do that. So that is the first issue that I ran into. Now, upon doing all of my connections, I did hook it directly up to one of the batteries and it fired right up. So I knew that that is good, out of the way. Now, the next logical step in my brain was to figure out how to mount the unit to my dash. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can mount your unit to your dash. A lot of people will flush mount it. However, I just don't have the ability to do that on my dash because there's not enough real estate. So what a lot of people will do is they will just mount it using the included mount, because this is really where the GPS unit will fit into. I'll kind of show you how that works real quick. So the GPS unit just simply goes into these little grooves here, and then you just screw the sides to lock it in place. So then I was thinking, okay, great. All I have to do at this point is just mount this flat surface here on the top of my dash, and then we're good to go. But the next thing I ran into was that my dash is curved on the top, not flat like this. So that led me to my next problem, which was trying to figure out how to mount my unit to the top of my dash. Again, did some research, knew that Ram mounts had a lot of mounts for GPS units, and ended up going with this Ram mount. And what this does is it lets me mount this little circular piece onto my dash because there is enough surface area for this to make flush contact. And then my GPS unit will just go on top of the Ram mount like so.
As you can see, there are 4 holes. Here are the previous screw holes from the other GPS unit that I had. But what's nice about this is you can see it's a very small footprint on this curved dash. So that's very nice. And then this one, I'll go around the back. It actually comes with, it's kind of hard to see through the glass, but it comes with a little port down here that would allow you to put your cables through. So it's kind of nice and clean. There's still a few things I've got to clean up here, of course, but you know, that is another project for another day.
So that was my second pitfall, was figuring out and realizing that I had to get an additional mount to actually mount my GPS unit to the dash. The last problem I ran into, as you can tell, because it is a different day, is the fact that there are no fasteners included with the GPS that allow you to be able to attach the GPS mount to the RAM mount. They do give you a few different fasteners in the GPS box. However, they assume that you're either going to screw in directly to the fiberglass, or they give you these other bolts that I'm really not sure what they are used for, because none of them are thick enough to actually fit through the top here. As you can see, it's a little bit too big to actually go through here. And then they give you one other tiny little screw that, as you can see, will not make it through the actual GPS unit and the RAM mount. So had to pick up a few fasteners from my local Ace Hardware. It was $4, not a really big deal at all. Now I'm ready to mount this to the ball that's on the boat and wrap this thing up. All right, guys, so this is the finished product here. Obviously, we got the GPS. This is the mounting area with the RAM mount. Looks really good on my Hughes, and I'm really happy with the product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below.